G'day everyone, welcome back to another episode of Roll with the Punches. I'm your host Tiffany Cook, and as usual I am joined by a fascinating guest. Yet again someone I've spoken to before, yet again someone I have raved about ever since. Mark Devine is a former Navy SEAL of 20 years. He retired at the rank of Commander. He is lovingly known as Cyborg and is here today to talk about all things having an unbeatable and resilient mind. Mark Devine, welcome to the show.
Booyah, Tiffany. Thanks for having me again.
I
Such
know.
a great honor. Yeah, thank you.
I remember 15 minutes into our first chat, I was looking at the clock and thinking, an hour's not enough, an hour's not enough. 15 minutes in, I was already panicking that it was already going to end too soon. So it is certainly a pleasure to have you back. You're an amazing person, and I think for myself, and I would say perhaps a lot of people that sit down and are about to hear from a Navy SEAL on resilience, you were very different to what I had expected. Very philosophical, very mindful, and very knowledgeable. To kick us off, I thought I would like to hear about, if you can tell us, your absolute favourite moment of personal transformation over that 20-year span as a Navy SEAL. Now that might be the actual moment, or perhaps the moment that you realised one of the most profound transformations for you.
Oh my gosh. You're going to make me choose.
It's only 20 years. There can't be many, surely.
It's only 20 years. Anybody who's been in any dangerous field like special ops has both the fortune and the misfortune to be in situations where they're in extremis, where life or death hangs in the balance. And for me, that happened many times, not just once, but many times. And so each time it reminded me or taught me a few things, and I'll share a couple times that it happened just because I can't choose one. So the first time, this happened in training. So this is pretty early. This is after I graduated from SEAL training, BUDS, basic underwater demolition SEAL training. And I'm at SEAL Team 3, and now I'm going through a workup. Excuse me. And we're doing some parachute jumping. And this is just static line jumping out of a helicopter at about 1,000, 1,100 feet or so at night. And so I jump out of the aircraft. I'm number 2 out. And everything is flawless. My chute opens, no problem. I'm following all my procedures. And I'm starting to enjoy this, really pristine evening in the California desert. The moon's out, and I'm about 800 or 900 feet, and I know how to do this, right? And I've been early in the game, but I'm fairly well trained already. And suddenly I notice that the guy who went out before me, his parachute, somehow he'd done a full 360 and he was coming straight at me. And I said, okay, well, I know what the procedure is. I will pull my right toggle. He'll pull his right toggle. He'll go right. I'll go right. And like two ships passing at night, we'll just avoid each other, and this will be no big deal. So I pull my right toggle. He pulls his left, and he is right, almost at the same level, just a little bit above me for some reason. He must have caught an updraft and it spun him around, and so he collides with me, but he's above me, and so that collision steals 100% of my air. And my parachute literally just disappears into a little puff ball, and I start plummeting to the ground. Right. And so in that moment, initially my heart just jumped into my throat, and then my training kicked in. Now, a good chunk of that training was parachute training, but also, as you know, from our prior conversation, I was a Zen practitioner for 4 years before I joined SEALs. And so I naturally went back to slowing down my breathing and just kind of going into that internal meditative state where I had much more control over time. Now, I didn't think like I'm going to go into this meditative state and try to control time. There's no cognition going on at all. It's just a natural instinctual reaction that I had trained. And so I slowed down my breathing through my nose, and I calmly assessed that I
The technical term.
technical term. And so I went through immediately, my emergency procedures entered my conscious mind, and I started to activate those. Look up. I noticed, of course, I had no parachute. So I grabbed my risers and I started shaking them, which is to try to open up the bottom to catch air again. Didn't work. So I paused and I said, I'm going to give this another try. And then I'd shake them a little bit harder. Boom, boom. And nothing happened. Now, mind you, I'm falling, close to 100 feet per minute. Or no, more than that, 100 feet per second or something like that. And 100 feet per second. So I've got roughly 7 or 8 seconds, from the start of this thing before I exit the planet Earth, And so I said, okay, I don't have time to try this again. I need to deploy my reserve. So I look down, I find my reserve. I pull the ripcord and I punch it and throw the reserve out. And nothing happens. Okay. So then I look back up. I've got about 4 seconds. Like I yank on the risers, nothing happens. I reach out to the reserve. I yank on those risers, 3, 2, 1. I take a deep breath, say some goodbyes. And suddenly, right before I landed, my main parachute caught air. And I ended up doing a very, very hard landing with a perfect parachute landing fall, a PLF, where I kind of roll. And miraculously didn't break any bones and survived. And got out of my parachute, and then I ran over to where this other guy was so I could have a small conversation with him.
Conversation with your fist?
with my fists, exactly. I was pissed.
Oh my
but it was very powerful moment for me because it taught me how much control we can have over our experience of time. And that saved my life many times, right? Many times. The second time this happened, I was at a shooting range, and it was early in the morning, like 5 a.m. And I was walking up to the range. I was the first one on it. It was it was a casual training, meaning, we were just basically going to go up and do our own shooting until we started the day. So it was like preparatory work. And I went up, I was going to, unload some rounds in the range. And as I was walking toward the range, I felt someone put their hand on my shoulder and say, stop. And I stopped. And as soon as I did that, I heard a round crack off from a 9mm weapon. And the bullet went right by my right ear. I could feel the wind. Had I taken that next step, it would have gone right in the back of my head. And I turned to look, who is the gracious being that just saved my life? And there was nobody there.
What? Oh my God, I've just got goosebumps.
There was nobody there. Yeah, it was an extraordinary moment, and one that had a profound impact on my understanding of reality, right? So that was when I started to really appreciate that maybe there were spiritual protectors and guides. And, I'd read about this and I was beginning to believe it from my meditation practice, but this is the first time I had an experience where, like, holy guacamole, like I felt a hand and I felt/heard someone say stop, or something say stop. And I did, and I listened to it. And you could call that intuition, but it really didn't feel like my gut saying, oh, I feel like someone's going to shoot me in the back of the head. It was something very, very different.
I am
so cool. So that taught me to trust those voices, to trust that if I get a signal from the non-physical or information or sensation like that to trust myself.
Yeah.
Another time, this is really more, I was existential situation. So we're in Alaska, and another training expedition, and we're doing this like multi-day snowbound, winter warfare training. And I'm in charge, and my navigation was kind of screwed, and they should never let officers navigate, by the way. Most enlisted guys will smile and say, yeah, that's right. So I don't know. I literally had walked off the map, and my route was taking us on this like steeper and steeper snow snowy kind of, outcropping, and it went down and there was this cliff. Like it just kind of happened where we were walking along and suddenly I noticed, that holy shit, this is getting a little bit dangerous and it's getting dark and I don't really know where the hell I'm going. So I'm thinking right about then that we got to rope up and probably turn around to get to safer ground. And as soon as I had that thought, the guy in front of me, his name was Swanee, he was in front and we were staggered. So that was one thing that we did. So he was above me and about 20 yards in front of me. Suddenly he loses his footing and starts sliding down toward this ravine, this drop off. And he was picking up speed. And immediately, as soon as I saw that, without any conscious thought, my body just leapt forward. And I just ran as fast as I could through the snow. And I literally intersected him as he was coming across my trajectory and pounced on him. And then we started rolling and tumbling, and I was able to find my ice axe and just drive it into the snow. And we ground to a halt like 2 feet before this ledge.
Oh my God.
And Swanee, he looks
you
at
might just topple over yourself.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, as we were tumbling, of course, I was trying not to think of anything except I'm going to what they call arrest this, fall with my ice axe. And so I just trusted the training. And I trusted my instincts because I didn't think, oh, I had better go save this guy. I better get moving now. If I had thought that, I would have missed him.
Mm.
And so that taught me that in a crisis, the first reaction when you're trained, and to train yourself for this, the first reaction is the right reaction. And that one was to move toward the source of danger. And many SEALs will say that's what saved their life. But then there's times where, you might like sense an IED or an incoming rocket or round where you've got to move away from the source of danger. And your consciousness knows the right action well before your rational mind will ever be able to form a thought around it. And so to trust that, and I learned to trust that. And that saved me in that situation. It saved Swanee. By the way, he looks at me and he goes, "Thanks, Cyborg. You saved my life." Very matter-of-factly. I'm like, "You're damn right I did. You kind of owe me one." Right?
Yeah, buy me dinner.
Buy me dinner, yeah, or a beer or something. Anyways, those are, they might seem like extreme stories, but they ended up being kind of commonplace. I could rattle off probably 5 or 6 more. Each one of them, so the totality of those experiences, this kind of, back to your question to put a pin in is facing life and death situations routinely taught me just how brief, this life can be, because I had a lot of friends who didn't make it, but also that with the right kind of training, you can really navigate those things much differently than the average person. Mm. And that training included, deep meditation and control of your breathing, and basically the ability to snap into perfect presence where you can slow time down like a Zen master and respond instinctually at the speed of consciousness versus at the speed of thought, which is almost near infinite speed.
Do you own your own business but keep falling behind on bookkeeping? Are you drowning in paperwork, invoices, and Excel spreadsheets, or leaving it to the last minute and lodging late? Renee Baker and her team of friendly bookkeepers can make sense of your numbers and keep all your compliance in line. Business Services by Ren offer fixed monthly bookkeeping packages to suit your needs and requirements. Our Xero accredited team can help you go paperless with top-of-the-line software support. Contact us today on 0412 222 498 or visit bsbr.com.au. Text me when you get home. We've all said that to a friend and wish we didn't have to. Everyone should be able to live in and enjoy a safe environment. Introducing the new app SEALFIT, developed to give users additional peace of mind. SEALFIT's panic button feature takes continuous pictures, records audio, and activates a GPS locator. In seconds, an alert is sent to your chosen SEALFIT emergency contact. Play it SEALFIT. Download a free version now.
At Michael Benjamin and Associates, we understand that everyone's life is different, and so are your legal needs. We take the time to understand your personal circumstances and requirements to deliver the best results. We predominantly practice in family law, wills, probate and administration, and property law and conveyancing. With over 30 years' experience, our friendly, attentive and highly experienced lawyers are your local firm of choice for all your legal matters. Visit mblaw.com.au or call 9558 0558 today.
Like when I was listening to that, and it drew my attention to our beliefs, and I'm always fascinated around this. I'm fascinated by how our beliefs and I guess you call them our stories about our experience change our world. I've been thinking about this so much lately, because when you go through those moments of self-awareness in life, and you think you're there, and then more things happen, you have new realizations, you're like, oh, the world is different now. And there was a quote that's just been bandied around so much in so many of my conversations recently from Anais Nin, which is, we don't see the world the way it is, we see it the way we are. And talk to me about beliefs. Like, obviously, I mean, your belief in your training and your belief, but how do we change them? Because you talked about you'd had this reaction, and you'd been trying to train your mind or develop these beliefs in something, a higher purpose, some sort of a spiritual type of component. You'd been meditating on this, but you hadn't yet, and then it came into your life. So I'd love to get your ideas around that.
Yeah, I think that it has to do with being open to new experiences and new storylines versus kind of stuck thinking that things the way they are and I am who I am because this is who I am. And I was stuck in my early 20s, and it was the practice of meditation, because I stuck with it and I had a competent teacher and I trusted him. He and the practice led me to radically question the story underpinned by a select, grouping of beliefs that I was living out and I was acting out. And that's the story that, as you know, from our prior conversation, led me down to Wall Street and to NYU Business School, where I was getting an MBA in finance, and I was working for Coopers and Lybrand, now PricewaterhouseCoopers, to become a certified public accountant. And I was gonna climb that ladder and make a lot of money, and then go back and run the family business. That was a set of beliefs that created the story that I was acting out on. And I would not have changed that. I am quite confident, had I not learned to just stop, press all stop on my day and sit in meditation for 20 to 30 minutes and to experience an internal world that first showed me that story was kind of screwed up for me. It wasn't my story. It was really my family and my culture's story that I had bought into. And I felt a deep discomfort when I was sitting on the meditation bench and was examining my life and recognizing that I wasn't inspired by that story, and it didn't feel like a good fit for me. I didn't feel like it was my purpose. And I never even contemplated purpose before. Wasn't a discussion in my house. It wasn't a discussion even in our culture back in the 80s. And I think it's cool that it is now, and people like you are having these discussions because I think finding one's purpose and passionately aligning with it is one of the most important jobs of our life, if not the most important. And so I feel very grateful that I found meditation through Zen and through a competent teacher that I trusted. So I stuck with it for 4 years, and it completely transformed me because I learned to ask, to recognize that my story was flawed, and then to ask better questions. And those questions then led to insights and information to coming to me, through me, from where I don't know. It could be from within, or it could be from that kind of non-physical teachers or guides that we talked about earlier. And I was shown that I was meant to be a warrior, and not a Navy SEAL, mind you, but a warrior at that stage of my life. And as soon as I accepted that archetypal role, that it felt right for me, then I was shown that even the Navy SEALs existed. I'd never even heard of them, or I maybe heard of them, but I wasn't interested, wasn't like looking for them, but they found me once I acknowledged and accepted that I was meant to be a warrior and not a, let's say, a merchant, if we're talking about an archetypal energy. I believe purpose, by the way, is an archetypal energy that, you are meant to fulfill in your life. And that could be, business person or mother or healer or warrior, right? Or teacher, those types of things. And it will change as you change. So I started out as like a warrior, and then I became a leader / warrior. And then I became a teacher / leader / warrior, so warrior still there, but it's now third in the line of these different archetypal energies that I'm playing out that are in my, my purpose energy bucket, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, I love that.
So anyways, that's a long-winded answer to your question. We can change our stories and our beliefs. You don't have to change all of them. Some of them might serve you, but I can guarantee for most people, a lot of the stories that they were brought up with or fed by their parents, they don't serve them very well, but they don't recognize that. They don't acknowledge that. And even as cultures, look at the stories that we're living out right now, that, peer-to-peer conflict, China, Russia, in conflict against, United States, Australia, Britain, Europe. That's a bullshit story. It's very flawed, right? It's based upon fear and defensiveness and armoring up, right? And anytime you armor up, you're essentially inviting attack. It's just the way the energy of the universe works. And so we live in a violent world because everyone feels separated, because their story is, I'm separate from you. And that's a flawed story. If we could flip the switch on that and say, I'm not separate from you, we're all cut from the same spiritual cloth, so to speak, and we have our uniqueness and our differences, and based upon these very, very cool cultural nuances that we are meant to revere and respect and learn from each other, then you would suddenly recognize that armoring up to annihilate each other with nuclear weapons is one of the most insane things that humanity could ever have come upon.
Nobody wants to go to court. At Testart Family Lawyers, we encourage all forms of alternative dispute resolution. Testart's team of Melbourne family lawyers have extensive experience in all areas of family law. Whatever your legal issue is, our family law service is designed to make the process as painless as possible while striving to achieve the results you want. Experience, excellence, and compassion. Testart Family Lawyers, we take care of you. Call us today on 9039 3364.
Is your business facing financial difficulty or the prospect of insolvency? PKF Melbourne can draw on a comprehensive and varied range of solutions to help. Our insolvency experts will give you the right advice at the right time. Don't let financial difficulty take hold of your business. Get proactive with PKF Melbourne. Our team specialises in all types of insolvency and provides a range of additional services. We've been providing insolvency services throughout Australia for over 3 decades. Let us support your business. Contact us now.
Would you like a superpower? With an AED, you have the power to restart a heart in cardiac arrest. Over 33,000 Australians experience cardiac arrest every year. Sadly, only 10% survive. Using an AED within the first 3 minutes increases survival rates by 70%. AED Authority is on a mission to make more places heart safe. Places just like yours. Anyone can use an AED. AED Authority has the advice and support to help you choose the right device. AEDs give ordinary people like you superpowers. No cape needed.
Do you think that we can change and transform and grow inside a toxic environment? And what is the difference between stepping into the hard and remaining inside the toxic? Is it our story? Is it our belief? Or, I'm thinking it could be family, it could be work. So you've got people that are unhappy, not present, don't want to be where they are. can we do the work and grow, or do we need to leave the environment?
Yes, but we have to wake up to recognizing that it's not healthy for us, that we're better than that. And then you have a choice, right? But if you're still asleep to it and you're just participating in the toxic environment, but miserable, then you're part of the toxicity. And so waking up to it is literally like waking up to this notion that we were talking about earlier, that you are a incredibly capable and powerful and positive human being on the inside, right? All the good qualities don't have to be learned. You just have to get the negative qualities out of the way, right? You have to literally get out of your own way to let your awesomeness flourish. So that's like the idea of waking up to your awesomeness. And so when you wake up the awesomeness, then you have a choice. So one choice is to leave that toxic environment so that you can grow. And so that would probably be the most favored choice in a work situation, right? Because it's just not worth it. You're not going to change an organization single-handedly or the people around you. And so, might as well just move on to an environment that will support your growth. But if it's your family, you're not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater, nor are you going to change them. And so this is kind of what happened with me. So you learn to love them for who they are and use their toxicity as a mirror for your own growth, right? Because especially with family, if you grow up in a toxic and negative family environment, then you experience trauma as a child, and that trauma is going to be there whether you wake up or not, right, to your awesomeness. And so you're going to have to work on that trauma, eradicating that shadow through therapy and through meditation and imagery work and, assortment of tools. And it's a lot of work and it's painful, but it's extraordinarily important and valuable.
People's treatment of us, or our experience of those people that may be toxic, it's toxic to us or it feels toxic, but sometimes it's coming from what we emit. Like I've seen relationships in my life, even in recent times, and I'm not talking bad toxicity, but I'm just talking a lower level, me noticing things going, that doesn't feel good. And then I realized that it's me and it's my energy and it's my perception and it's my irritability on an underlying level. And when I change that, when I step out of that, the entire dynamic of how I receive these people around me completely shifts. And that's why that quote by Anais Nin takes on a whole new meaning. And you go, how do we teach that? Can we teach it? We have to be ready. I'm so fascinated.
No, you're absolutely right. This is not a news flash, but we experience everything from and within our mind. And so if you're experiencing toxicity from someone else, guess what? It's in your mind. And it means that you haven't either learned to recognize how not to take someone else's toxicity on, or as you mentioned, it's triggering something inside of yourself because they're projecting onto you that which is either repressed or not fully expressed or denied that's within you. And so it's an opportunity to look within and say, wow, my mind is actually hurting me right now by having this reaction. And so the only way to out of that is, like you said, to step out of it. And the way to step out of that is first with courage, and then acceptance, and then forgiveness.
Tell my viewers, you run the Unbeatable Mind program, you do a whole lot of stuff, and you have got a lot of resources in helping us transform our minds and be more resilient. And I love what you do, so just share that with my viewers.
If you're an athlete and you like hard challenges and you love to, you travel to America or you want to, then we've had a ton of Aussies come to our SEALFIT crucible events. We run those twice a year, April and October or September, I think. And you can find more about those. They're like a Hell Week, Navy SEAL Hell Week simulation for intense team building and emotional awareness. And it's a really extraordinary experience called Kokoro Camp. And you can find that at SEALFIT.com. And then anything about me and my books, and if you want to get in touch with me for anything, markdevine.com is my website, and Instagram is @realmarkdevine, and Facebook is
Amazing.
at
Thank
Mark
you
Devine.
so much, Mark, or should I say Cyborg.